Welcome to Your True Calling. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Dr. Michelle Chappell, a psychologist and a rock star. I've helped thousands of people find their true purpose by discovering their one-of-a-kind superpowers. Each week, I'll share tools and client success stories to help you find gifts you don't know you have so that you can thrive in a career that fills your soul and passion projects that make you feel whole. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to talk to Buffalo Child today, a Plains Cree Native American who possesses great wisdom from his ancestry. We talk about superpowers, which are not only our unique gifts and passions, but also our unique ways of being in the world. We also cover the importance of living in balance and taking time to remove false labels placed on us by others so that we can shine as our authentic selves. Let's get into it. Hi, Buffalo. I'm so happy to have you on my podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
This podcast is designed to help people find superpowers they don't know that they have. So it could be a gift or a passion, but it can also be a way of being. And that is something I noticed about you. And you have a way of being in the world, a wisdom that you carry that I really wanted to get into with you today. So does that sound good?
Wow. It's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You had a post that you put up that really got my attention. I guess you were moving from Colorado to Ohio and you saw a motorcyclist zip by you.
Yeah.
And you wrote, I'm just going to quote a little bit of this. My spirit told me that he's going to kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then a few minutes later, that's exactly what happened.
Uh-huh.
But this is what you said that really got my attention. I prayed for his loved ones. It's so sad. We must remember that life is about the journey. It's about your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your actions, not your destination. Let us keep our journey sacred, not live in the past or the future, but in this present moment. Make your journey sacred, make it beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? My intuition said,
Yeah.
ask him to be on your podcast. I'm like, okay, I'm going to trust you. So here you are. I was pushing myself too hard, working too hard, going too fast, being in the future, go, 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 go. And then I read this and I'm like, oh yeah, right.
I was traveling and it was bumper to bumper traffic. I think it was Kansas City and just before it. And I was driving a little fast, maybe 75 miles an hour, and the speed limit is 70 miles an hour. That's probably 4 miles over the speed limit. And I was driving steady. And because everybody's going way faster than me, they're probably driving 85. And so I don't want to hold up the traffic. I kind of go with the flow, ride the tide, don't push the river,
Mm-hmm.
kind of being balanced there. And then all of a sudden, somebody passed by me like I was standing still and they were going 100 miles an hour. And I said, wow. I said, that's impossible. And when I did the math in my head, it was like they were going like 180 miles an hour. And they almost hit me on my vehicle. And the person had on like gray shorts and their skin was showing in their back, and they were just driving like they didn't care whether they lived or died. It was like no thoughts about this world, no thoughts about what's happening. They were totally in their own thoughts. They weren't even connected to this world. They weren't connected to the environment. They weren't connected to themselves. And my spirit tells me things a lot of times, and you just know things,
Yeah.
I don't know if you call it telepathic or whatever, but you just know things are going to happen. You see things, I know when I look at the weather and I see a sundog, I know that we're going to have a change of weather like in 3 days. My father taught me this when he was a good elder,
Mm,
and I learned things about nature. So I just knew. So I just started praying for his loved ones, and
mm,
you can't really pray for him because he's already made that choice. You
mm,
pray for his loved ones because when we get to the spirit world, they don't have the suffering we have in this world. This world we suffer, and
mm,
it's still a beautiful world. And then about 3 minutes down the road, the traffic started getting strange, weird. It's like all of a sudden the traffic was strange, and I go, "What's going on here?" So then I saw, oh, it looks like there's a car accident ahead. It doesn't look like it's bad. It's a car just parked there in the middle. Doesn't look banged up. And then all of a sudden, right about 4 or 5 feet to my right, I saw his motorcycle all smashed up and tangled in the meridian like a fence thing. And I said, no.
mm.
And then about another 25 feet, and there was his body all twisted up and lifeless, and he's still wearing those same shorts.
Hmm.
And he was gone. His spirit left his body. So that's what happened to him. He made that choice of not being part of this world. We all have to make a choice. We make a choice whether we want to. Yeah, we have spiritual laws and we have physical laws. And the physical laws are when you're tired, you yawn, so you sleep. Your physical laws are when you're hungry, your stomach growls, so you go eat. You know, and the spiritual laws, they tell you about when your emotions are in balance, when you're in a good connection, when you're part of where you're supposed to be. You're not in the future, you're not in the past, you're in this day, and you're in the moments of this day. That's when you have balance. It made me sad because he was young. We quit before the miracle happens. You know, this world is a journey. It's not a destination. And the sooner we take our life pains, the sooner we accept our life challenges, the better our life becomes. A mother can't have a baby without having the pain of giving birth. A guy can't do the athletic stuff without the training. And you can't pass those math exams without studying and learning those equations for math. And your brain is a muscle, and your heart is a muscle. So if you want your body to be strong, you exercise your body. If you want your mind to be strong, you exercise your mind. And the same thing with emotion, same thing with spirit. And there's different ways of exercising your spirit. And one way is they call it meditation. I just call it to turn around and avoid the excessive noise, to avoid the excessive movement, and to find your inner peace and to breathe and to get it connected, whether you're sitting outside in the wilderness on the grass, you're on a fast, a vision quest, whatever, you get connected there. You learn how to connect with the environment. You learn how to be one with the environment. You reap the blessings and you become balanced. And life is like that. And the more we want instant gratification and the more we want to overachieve and the more we turn around and put unnatural goals in front of ourselves, the more we take away. I heard a proverb one time, it was kind of interesting. It's kind of an Oriental one, but it went like this. This master, he was a great master, and he had a great student. And the great student went up to him one day and he says, "Master, how long will it be before I'm as good as you?" The master told him, 10 years. And he says, "Master, what if I come early every day and I leave late every day and I work extra hard? How long will it take me then?" And the master said, 20 years.
I know that one because I'm a practicing Buddhist. And we just We just read that in The Joy of Living, a book called The Joy of Living. So I'm very aware of that. Well, what I wanted to say is your post really woke me up because I was pushing myself too hard. I'm a recovering overachiever. And, I have
Uh-huh.
a PhD from Princeton, and my whole life has been about pushing myself, and it's not good for me. It's not healthy. And when I saw your post, it was just this wake up call, because I listened to you. It was a video too, and it was, this guy's got some good stuff to share with us. So I wanted to ask you too, because we've spoken briefly before. I had asked what nation you were, and you had said to me 1416 Plains Cree. And then just recently, you don't call yourselves Cree, though. Can you tell
No,
us a little bit about that?
well, on my Native American Indian card,
Mhm.
and they say how much Native you are, it's like uh, I'm 1416 Plains Cree. That's what they call me on paper. But we never called ourselves Cree. That was the French that gave us that name Cree. We
Mm,
have always called ourselves Nehioak, Nehioisinowak.
mm,
Nehioak is like Peak, Niso, and Sto, Neo. That's like counting 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like four entities or four bodies, four spirits. And one elder, Harold Cardinal, he passed away, and he used to translate that as we have like mind, body, spirit, and emotion.
mm,
When you have those things all balanced, you become complete, you
mm.
become whole. Nehioak, Nehioisinowak. And that's who we are. We're the people of the four bodies, the four spirits, the four entities, like mind, body, spirit, and emotion. When we have those balanced, we become whole. We're complete.
Hi, dear listeners. I just wanted to take a pause and check in with you. I noticed that as I was interviewing Buffalo and listening to him, sometimes I would be put right in the moment, which is where he was coming from. It was a very interesting experience. I don't know if you noticed that yourself. One of the things that I wanted to talk about with you is how labels can keep us from being who we truly are. In Buffalo's case, he and his people were labeled as Cree by the French, but that's not how they see themselves. That's not who they really are. And the same thing happens to you and me. A lot of times we get these labels from our families of origin. I've worked with so many clients who have been told that they were not the smart one. They were not the pretty one. They were not the artist in the family, which left them to grapple with who they really were. But you want to know what's interesting is we dug in deeper. They were smart. They were attractive. They were artistic. They just expressed it in a different way. I remember when I was a psychology professor at Santa Clara University, I had a student come up to me during the break and tell me that he was actually in the engineering program there because his father did not think that he should get a degree in psychology because, quote unquote, there is no money in psychology. Now, at the time, obviously, I was a psychology professor, and he was taking my psychology class because he loved psychology and he was really good at it. But what I didn't know then that I do know now is that you can make a lot of money as a psychologist. I ended up going into high tech as a cognitive psychologist to do user research and market research. And that can be a very profitable field. So his father was wrong. And a lot of times our parents don't see us for who we truly are, and we get a label put on us, not smart, not artistic, and we don't know who we are. So, what we end up doing, according to Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, is we take these parts of ourselves that are deemed unacceptable and we stuff them down into the unconscious and we forget all about them. So we forget that we have artistic tendencies. We forget that we're smart. We bury it so deep that we don't remember who we are. It's in our shadow side. But you know what's really interesting about the concept of the shadow is that in a different context, some of those things that we stuff down into the unconscious are nuggets of gold. So in a different family, you might be seen as an artist. Say your family thinks your brother is the artist because he paints beautiful landscapes and you're more into modern art. They don't understand what you do. They just see squiggles. So you're labeled as not being the artist in the family, as being a non-artist. Imagine what that does to your future. You may never even pursue it, but a different family who values contemporary art may see you as the artist and your brother's work as sophomoric. It's all relative. So when you take something about yourself that's actually precious but not accepted by the society, the family, the school that you happen to be in, and you stuff it down deep, but it is a natural talent, a natural gift, a natural passion, that is called the golden shadow. And this is something that you want to bring to the light because it's what makes you special. It's what makes you you. And so Buffalo was talking about the four elements as coming together to make him complete. And in Carl Jung's mind, you take these different parts of yourself that you have suppressed and you allow them back into your consciousness. And now you feel complete, you feel whole. Those missing superpowers, those gifts that you don't know that you have, the reason why they're missing is because someone didn't appreciate them in you and you stuck them down in your unconscious. I have 7 empower questions that I've used with thousands of people in coaching, group coaching, at talks to help them reclaim their golden abilities. You can find them on my website, yourtruecalling.org, right on the homepage. 7 empower questions, and I'll do a podcast on them soon too. Another way to discover your golden shadow is to notice who you admire. The bright qualities you see in them are suppressed in you. For example, I admire Buffalo, which means I have some similar qualities I may not be aware of yet. I really like how Buffalo says the sooner we accept our life challenges, the better our life becomes. Know that it might be a little bit painful, like a mother giving birth to a child, but do the work and you will find those gifts. I once heard a Navajo woman say that Indigenous people often celebrate their children's gifts because they understand that their offspring will use their strengths and their skills to contribute to their tribe's welfare. Your gifts help you find your purpose in the world so that you can contribute to it in a natural way that's true to you. Next, we're going to talk about how Buffalo answered his calling, and you can too. Yeah, it's so funny. I'm not that different from you. I do very similar things. We'll talk about that more because I'm interested in you. But you said psychology helped you understand how people thought in a linear way or something like that.
It's like learning psychology is like thinking in a box. They don't work with the spirit. Natives work with the spirit because there's a thin veil between the physical and the things that are not physical. And you could feel it and you could sense it. And I've had spiritual experiences where I've been in the wilderness and I've prayed for answers and I've had visions and I've seen things happen. It's more in the mind.
Yeah.
And there's people that use their head so much and they don't use their body so much. They don't use their spirit. To know something in your head is not the same as really knowing it in your heart and have the experience of doing it.
I really agree with you. And I, in my own way, I have a PhD in psychology, in cognitive
Uh-huh.
psychology, which is all about the mind. And over the years, even when I was at Princeton, I was realizing I have a very strong sense of intuition about things. And if I pay
Uh-huh.
attention, it always comes out the way I get a hit about something very similar to what you're saying. And it happens. And I remember even being at Princeton having intuitions about, research that we were doing. And I realized nobody wanted to hear about that. It was all science. Nobody wanted to know if I had a gut feeling about how an experiment was being designed, although there are scientists who do honor their gut feelings. But I definitely felt what you're talking about is like it's all up here in the mind and not so much what do you feel in your stomach? How is your body doing? And like even yesterday, I went for a walk. I took a few days off because I was burning out and I was getting all kinds of things appearing in my mind telling me what to do. And one of the biggest things I heard is you are out of balance. And then a dragonfly kept flying near me and I took a picture of it. So I understand your world a little bit. I really do. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it.
I could tell about you a little bit just by your picture. I see your face and I see your environment. I see the plants.
Mhm.
Plants have a life force.
Mhm.
Anything with life force is good for us. That's why it's good to walk barefoot on the grass sometimes. You get grounded. You got to get grounded. And when you have issues, some people they walk through the bush and the bushes cleanse them,
Mhm.
knock all the stuff off them, and then you go by the river and you maybe you cry, your teardrops go with the river and you do some healing. We are living in a world today, things are out of balance.
Mhm.
And it's not for me to judge. A lot of people are hurting right now, and a lot of people are lost. And some people are in balance and they don't know how to help other people. And and the truth is we got to help ourselves. When somebody is helping themselves, that's when you should help them. If we could truly help the people who are helping themselves, we'd be living more spiritual. So when you see somebody trying to help themselves, you help that person. And the other thing we have to learn is we have to learn that humans are social beings. And when you share a problem, you only got half a problem. But you got to be careful who you share it with. You share it with somebody loving or you share it with somebody angry. An angry person is always going to be angry, and a
Yeah,
loving person is always going to be loving.
yeah,
And then if you find somebody has a good heart and a good mind and they're loving and they're a good friend. We all need friends. And the more people connect with friends and they connect with nature and they connect with their children. Children are your greatest teachers, man. I have never learned so much in my life until I had children.
mm,
Children make you grow up, and animals too. They teach you responsibility, even plants. You got to water those plants. You got to put them in the sun. You got to give them shade sometimes. That's what balance is all about. It's doing the little things right and the big things work themselves out.
I love that so much, and I agree. And you said we are not the only life on this planet
Uh-huh.
because of the way you were raised and your belief system. You have much more awareness around that than a lot of us do. I'll just share with you. I have two cats, Ziggy and Zoe,
Uh-huh.
and I have always been a cat lover. But in the last few years, I realized more and more that they are my equals. They have distinct personalities, wants and needs. We're cohabitating this apartment together. It isn't just me with two pets. It is me and Ziggy and Zoe. And I'm so much more aware of their moods, of when something's off. And animals now seem to stop when I'm walking down the sidewalk and hang out with me for a while. I feel like I'm getting a glimpse of this world in which we all belong together. It's not just humans. So I would love to hear more about what you think about that.
And I saw this mountain and I started climbing it. And I climbed it and climbed it. And pretty soon the lake below me was like 10 cents. It was so small. I climbed so high up that mountain that that lake looked like a dime. It's going to get dark, you know. So I said, well, I should pray here and meditate for a minute. So I just found a nice place to pray. And all of a sudden, when I was praying, I felt a presence with me. I asked my spirit, is it okay? And my spirit said, it's okay. And I said, okay. And so all of a sudden, I was almost done praying and I felt something really cold touch my nose. And I opened my eyes and it was a little fawn, a little deer. It come and touched my nose with its nose
Oh,
when
that's
I was praying, eh? And I go, oh, there you are. Hi. You know, and it just was really curious to know me. You know, so I just kind of smiled and enjoyed the moment. I was on a vision quest one time, fasting. I fast many times, but this time I was a 4-day fast and I was up on a cliff. I prayed for, you know, good message, you know, and all of a sudden I was overlooking and I saw this look like a giant bumblebee. And I go, what the heck? I started watching it and all of a sudden, zoop, it stopped 1 foot away from me. And I go, oh, it's a hummingbird. It stopped and looked me right in the face. And I started talking to it in my language because I've talked to bears in my language and they've listened. You know, so I talked to the hummingbird in my language. I said, agapi, sis, tansegua. Kigwa agapi squin. Kigwa in the way tenagota. Tansegua. Tansitagwe. And I said, what do you want to tell me? And then all of a sudden it's turned around and I was in the north facing the south and it pointed to the south. I said, do you want me to go south? And then it just paused for 1 second and took off back, went south. And I said, okay, that's the message. I'm supposed to go south. So I went south and I went to a place called Florida and I went down to the end of Florida and I went down to the Keys and I went down to the end of Florida there and there's roosters running around wild. And I go, wow, well, okay, as far south I can go, I guess.
animals communicate with us all the time if we pay attention. I mean, I know like, once again that you are much more aware of this than I am. I'm just coming into awareness. But when I take walks, I think animals where they will come right up to you, touch your nose, but they'll stop in front of me and just look at me. A crow, a squirrel, a duck, you know, and they just, and I think we're just hanging out with each other and I love it. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was the summer solstice at Serpent Mount.
Yeah.
You sort of turned around the direction that it was going in. And would you like to say more about that? Because I really loved the way you were describing the ceremony.
I went to Serpent Mount because it was solstice. I know that area is like my ancestors, Algonquin. Cree is an Algonquin language group, you know,
Mhm.
and my people originated around that area. So I thought when I went over there, there's going to be a lot of native people there, medicine people, and they're going to be doing ceremonies. And when I got there, it was hardly no native people, and it was kind of speakers, and I was falling asleep. And nobody talked about the spiritual significance of the mount. They never talked about the traditional ways. They never talked about paying reverence to the sacred ways, the traditional ways. And I was shocked. One guy got up and spoke about some of the spirituality and I woke up right away, like I was really attentive. And they said we'd like to hear what you people think, you know. So I put my hand up and I spoke and I told them that I came here to help the medicine people and I'm a pike carrier and I've been one since 1979 and I've been involved. My uncles are all medicine people. My mom's side are medicine people. My dad's side are medicine people. And so I just kind of wanted to be a skapwias, like a helper there, because I'm a guest, and there was no medicine people there, and I was surprised. It's solstice. It's a power time. There's power times at sunrise. There's power times at high noon. There's power times at sunset. There's power times on full moon. There's power times on solstice, and equinox and all that. And so I assumed there would be natives there and doing ceremony, but there wasn't. And why isn't anybody smudging this sacred mount? Why aren't there any songs for the ancestors here? Because there's burial mounts, and how come nobody's doing this? And somebody got up and says, "Why don't you do it?" And I said, "Because I'm only a guest here, and but they are my people, the Algonquin language group, and the organizers would have to ask me or give me their blessings, and there'd be a protocol of bringing tobacco." And so all of a sudden, some people brought me tobacco, and the organizer says, "Well, we can't stop you, and if you want to do that, go ahead." And and so I kind of found myself in that situation. And we have a belief that if you're somewhere and there's a calling, you should answer that calling. So I said, "Okay, it's a calling." So I just answered the calling, and I said, "Okay, sunset, I'll be at the Serpent's Mount, and we'll have a smudging and a prayer and some songs." All of a sudden, I think it was like about 9:07 or something was the sunset time. So about 8:30, I started going to the mount with my hand drum, my rattle, my smudging bowl, my sage. On my way there, I walked clockwise around the serpent, and I was praying in my mind and meditating. But there was only like 40 or 50 people at those meetings, and all of a sudden, the mount was getting full. And then there was like hundreds of people at the mount, and I was facing kind of southeast, and it was amazing. I was surprised because the place wasn't that busy, but all of a sudden now at sunset, just before sunset, it was packed. So I did a smudge, and one of the organizers was right there at the head of the serpent there at the beginning of the mount. So I said, "Can you hold us?" And he goes, "Sure." So he held my smudging bowl, and I lit up some sage, and I started to smudge and purify, give thanks, purify myself and give thanks. And then I smudged up my drum and my rattle and that, and then I did a prayer in my mind and my heart, and then I started to sing a prayer song, and nanaskum tanan mamotawi ma kasemanto miwata man. We're thankful for all the things of Mother Earth, oh great Spirit Creator. You make us happy. That's the translation. So it was a Thanksgiving song, because it was sunset now. So I sang that chant, that prayer song, and then I gave prayers to the four sacred directions, the cardinal directions, and I talked about Ngawi Mother Earth, and Nutawi Mao, Father Sky, and the medicine wind, Kokam Tipskak Pisim, Grandmother Night Moon, and she controls the tides on the earth, and the menstrual cycle for all life givers, including the human. And Kumashum no Gapisis, and Grandfather Sun, and then the grandfathers in the four sacred directions and their names. I'm not going to say them, but it was at the ceremony. And then I gave thanks for this time, and I prayed for the ancestors of my people that were lived in that area, and all of a sudden there was like a reverence. Everybody was like praying with me there. It was amazing. And then I sang the song and did those prayers, and when I was done, it was like very beautiful, and there was like lots of people crying, and there was people that were touched, and there was people that come out, and it was like they were shaking my hand and talking to me, dozens and dozens of people. And so I slowly started to move away. And then I had the tobacco that was given to me, and I had to burn it with some sage and give thanks, and that was what happened. It was a beautiful time. That was a special thing. It was a special time.
Do you have any advice for just everyday people like me who want to plug into the sacred day to day?
I mentioned it before, is that this world is very fast and people go too fast. And you got to stop. You got to slow down. And this world is very noisy. And you got to stop the noise. You got to shut off your radios, TV, anything that makes noise, and you got to just connect with the earth, and the trees, and you got to ground yourself. And then you got to pray. And there's three things about prayer. It's yes, no, and wait. And most people don't know how to do the wait. And the wait is when the answers come. And it's amazing. It's never what you think it'll be. I've had the most elaborate, amazing answers, and some call them visions. And the difference between a vision and a dream is a dream happens when you're asleep, and the vision happens when you're awake. And I've had times when I've been trying to fast a pipe and fast myself in the wilderness, and I don't know where to go because the area I thought would be beautiful was strip logged, clear cut, horrible. And they leave the trees by the road, and you think you're going to go in the bush and it's going to be trees, and you find out they logged hundreds of miles. Trees are relatives. So I prayed and I said, I don't know where to go now because the land's changed. And I prayed. All of a sudden, an eagle flew over my head and it started going a direction. So I followed that eagle. And out of nowhere was like a little oasis, like a little uh, island of land, and it had trees on it. And I said, oh, I see. That's where I'm supposed to pray. So that's where I went and fasted the pipes, and that's where I fasted. And I prayed right there because the eagle showed me where to go. It never would have been answered if I rushed. If I used my head, it never would have happened. If I was in a hurry, it never would have happened. Just make sure that you have the right intention in your heart and the right mind, and miracles will happen. I love to pray when the sun rises at a power time. I love to give thanks and pray when the sun sets at power time. And I usually do it in a chant, prayer chant. And life is always going to have problems. But it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you can get back up. And the people that get back up get blessed because they make the effort. And in life, you've got to make the effort because that's part of the journey we're on in this world. Actions with work and the right heart create miracles.
Dear listeners, I hope that you were as inspired by Buffalo as I was. And you may have been surprised that I was able to take his criticism of psychology so well. But, when I was trained as a cognitive psychologist, I knew something was missing. Buffalo spoke about balancing mind, body, spirit, and emotion. And I knew that I had the mind covered, but that was it. So the first thing I did after getting my PhD was to study emotions. When I was a professor, I was teaching classes on cognition, memory, perception, creativity, problem solving, mind activities. But I also taught my students about Eastern philosophies, Taoism, Buddhism. Years later, I was drawn to Carl Jung and depth psychology because it's a more spiritual approach. Today, I wanted to introduce you to an Indigenous view of life because it balances us out. It broadens our perspective. Buffalo had wisdom that no one else had at that solstice ceremony. He was able to answer his calling to lead that ceremony in a way that was authentic. He answered his calling in the moment by being his true self. Each of us has a unique role to play on our planet, a unique calling. We tend to think of finding our purpose as this big, lofty goal, but answering our calling is often something we do in the moment by being true to ourselves. Now, I have to tell you that I have felt called to do this podcast for about 2 years now. And I kept putting it off because I didn't want to do it. It scared me. But something inside of me kept saying, do it, do it, do it. It's important that you do it. Do you have something like that inside of you, calling to you right now? You probably do, and you probably know what it is, but you've been feeling resistance to it. What is calling you right now? We need to embrace all of who we are and not let labels limit us or see ourselves as lacking, but rather to understand that the whole of who we are is a unique blessing. So thank you so much, Buffalo, for sharing your wisdom with us today. I am so grateful.
Thank you for listening to Your True Calling. Please leave a review and share it with your friends. From my website, yourtruecalling.org, you can follow me on social media, learn more about my music and my coaching, contact me to find your superpowers live on the air, and help me produce future episodes by funding me on Patreon.